30% of your conversion budget is probably doing nothing. If I walked into your finance department today and told your CFO that nearly a third of your marketing budget could be set on fire with absolutely zero impact on your quarterly revenue, they would probably laugh at me out of the room. They would point on to your dashboards, they would point to the ROAS reports from platforms and the multi-touch attribution tool you're paying $250,000 a year and say the data proves every dollar is working. But there is an uncomfortable truth that we uncover in audit after audit. For high-ticket B2C and long-cycle B2B brands, specifically those spending 80% or more of their budget on the bottom of the funnel conversion, typically 20 to 30% of that spend is sitting in a dev zone. Look at this curve. This is the law of diminishing return in action. In the beginning, every dollar you spend captures the high intent buyer. But as you scale, you eventually hit a ceiling. You exhaust the pool of people currently ready to buy. At this stage, you enter the dead zone. This is the point where the marginal return of your next dollar spent is effectively zero. You are spending more to acquire the same customer you would have acquired anyway. This is a systematic margin bleed, and the worst part, it is invisible to your attribution dashboard and to your platform ROAS. Platform ROAS shows you an average ROAS that looks acceptable, while 30% of your capital is doing absolutely nothing. The marginal ROI, the return you get at that level of spend, is below 1. In this video, we are going to break down exactly why this happens, the economic of physics that traps brand in this cycle, and the specific tests you can run tomorrow to prove it. To understand the dev zone, we have to look at the market physics of high-ticket categories. There is a fundamental rule in B2B marketing, the 95-5 rule, and the same applies to B2C high-ticket. The rule means that at any given moment, only 5% of your total addressable market is in market. These are the people who are ready to buy right now. They are searching for pricing, they are comparing features, they have their credit card out. The other 95% are not ready. They might buy in 3 months, in 6 months, or in a year. But right now, they are passive. Here's the problem. Most of companies allocate 80 to 90% of their budget to that tiny 5% slice. They pour massive resources into paid search, shopping, retargeting, and then force huge budget into that small pool of in-market buyers. You saturate it almost instantly. You are fighting for the same small group of people who have already decided to buy. This creates 2 massive problems. First, you are paying for captured demand, not created demand. If someone searches for your brand name or visits your site directly, they already know you. If you hit them with retargeting ads 5 times a day, your dashboard says, look, we drove that a conversion, but incrementality testing proves that for many of these users, the conversion would have happened anyway. You didn't cause a sale, you just paid a tax to the platform to intercept it. Second, you leave the open door for competitors. While you're obsessing over the 5% who are buying today, you are completely ignoring the 95% who will buy tomorrow. If you're not building mental availability with them now, by the time they enter the market, it's too late. They will choose a brand they already know. Research shows that 80% of buyers choose a brand that they already knew before starting the researching. If they wait until they search to show up, you have already lost. No, you might think, Charlie, my dashboard shows ROAS at 4 for my retargeting campaign. How can you say it's wasting money? Performance marketing feels safe. Every click is tracked, every dollar has a return attached to it. It gives executives the illusion of certainty. But algorithms are not optimizing for your growth, they're optimizing for attribution. When you tell an algorithm maximize conversion, it naturally seeks for the path of least resistance. It looks for people with the highest intent signals, people who visited your cart, people who search for your brand name. The algorithm over-indexes on these people because they are easy wins. It ignores the harder job of reaching new people and focuses entirely on harvesting existing people. This leads to temporal discounting. Algorithms prioritize immediate rewards over the long-term value. If you use a 1-day or 7-day click window, the system learns to ignore anyone who takes 2 weeks to decide, in which, in high-ticket B2C and in B2B, is almost everyone. As you scale and spend these conversion campaigns, you stop reaching more people. You start hitting the same people more often. We see frequency rates skyrocket to an annoying level, but because those people eventually buy, the ROAS looks good. In reality, you're just burning margin. LVMH did not succeed in selling $2,000 bags that cost them $50 to make with performance marketing. They did it by investing vast amount of capital into their brands over decades. Yet, cloud companies are paying $100 a click on Google, hoping that this is really the action that will lead to a $500,000 deal. I don't expect you to take my word for this. I want to walk you through the exact process we use to prove it, so you can see the data for yourself. We first look into our mid-funnel to observe the diminishing returns on website traffic from bottom-of-funnel campaigns. In a recent audit, the curve showed that clearly that they were 30% overextended. As last times were in very expensive traffic territory that wasn't really bringing way more traffic. The curve had completely flatlined. So we ran a test. We cut exactly that 30%. The revenue did not move. We freed up millions of dollars annually, and the top line barely moved. That is the definition of the death zone. So once you have identified this waste, what do? You have two choices. You can pocket the savings and show for better margin for 1 quarter, or you can do the right thing, which is actually creating growth. You take that 20-30% of the dev zone budget and reinvest into brand and discoverability. You move that money from harvesting the 5% to targeting the 95%. You invest in broader reach and channels that build mental availability. This is scary for CFOs because the returns isn't immediate. Brand building components like a snowball. In month 1, it looks expensive. By month 6, your cap drops, your organic search volume rise, and your market share expands. Remember this, performance marketing rents your audience. Brand building owns it. If you only optimize for what you can track with attribution, you hit a ceiling. But if you have the courage to cut the waste in the dev zone and feed the brand, you unlock the only asset that actually compounds over time. Stop feeding the dev zone and start feeding the brand.